What's up, guys? Nathan here. If you're brand new to Path of Exile, the game can be extremely overwhelming. Difficulty spikes feel unfair, global chat is giving you cancer, and half the words on your supposedly beginner friendly guide don't make sense at all. However, one thing is for certain. Pretty quickly, you'll start to realize that to do anything in this game, you're gonna need some currency.
Here comes the money.
Because of this, I've come up with 5 ultra beginner friendly tips to start making currency. Some of these don't even require a single Chaos Orb to start doing right away. The only catch is if you're not a brand new player, there's a good chance you'll already know these. So if you're hundreds of hours deep into the game looking for a get rich quick scheme, you probably won't find this video very helpful. Number 1. Gem leveling. With almost no investment, zero RNG, and no difficult content required, this has to be by far the easiest method for farming currency in the game. The only catch is you'll have to put some serious time into it. Basically, the way it works is there is always a demand for high-level gems. Most players generally can't be bothered to wait until their gems finish leveling up all the way before they start doing endgame content. And in many cases, they'd rather just buy a corrupted level 21 version instead. This currency making strategy takes advantage of the fact that you can actually have 2 sets of weapons equipped at all times, plus gems socketed in these secondary weapons will gain experience just like all your other gems. To switch between these 2 weapon sets, press X. Your first step is to figure out exactly what gems you want to level. I recommend going to the website poe.ninja, clicking on the Skill Gems tab, and checking out what's selling for the most. In theory, your next steps are pretty simple. You just choose the most expensive skill gem, buy 6 copies of it from Lily Roth in Act 6 or the Epilogue, and start leveling them in your secondary weapons. However, there are some important factors to consider when choosing what gems to level. For one, you need to consider the stats your character will naturally gain via leveling up or equipping the items you'll be using. Some general rules are that tanky melee characters will have lots of strength, fast bow builds will have lots of dexterity, and casters will have lots of intelligence. This means that you should level red gems for strength, green gems for dex, and blue gems for int. Of course, there will always be exceptions, but the point remains you probably don't want to level up 6 arc gems if you're a Sunder Gladiator. The next factor you'll need to consider is just how much time and RNG you're willing to count on. These drop-down menus at the top of PoE Ninja are your best friends. They let you filter skill gems by level, quality, and corruption status, which in turn allows you to decide what gems are the best fit for you. For example, say you're playing Anki's Arc Witch, and all you want to do is max out your gems and immediately sell them for a reliable and relatively fast profit. You would set the level to 20, the quality to 0, and the corruption status to no. In this case, it looks like you'd want to level Frostwall or Ice Nova. Let's take one more example. Say you're an Earthquake Juggernaut and you're willing to gamble on corrupting some level 20 gems, but you want to get the most for your money. First, organize the gems to show level 21 and 20% quality. This implies that once you max out a gem, you'll vendor it with a Gem Cutter's Prism to reset its level and boost it to 20% quality. After scrolling down a bit, you can see that Smite is probably the best option in this scenario. The last part of this tip is a general PSA about how gem experience works. The amount of XP your gems earn is directly proportional to the level of content you're running. You can't just spam Blood Aqueducts for a few hours and expect to max out a gem. You need to run the highest tier maps you can with the most pack size you can roll. Breach stones, especially pure breach stones, are an excellent source of gem experience as well. Number 2. Faded Uniques. The second method I have for you today isn't as lucrative or low investment as gem leveling, but it's easy and fairly quick to do. The gist of it is capitalizing on people's laziness via the Faded Unique system. In Path of Exile, there are a ton of unique items that are also faded. Faded means they can't drop on their own, but if a player obtains a specific prophecy and follows its instructions, they will automatically be granted the relevant Faded Unique. The catch is, every one of these prophecies requires you to have the specific unfaded version of the unique you want to upgrade in your possession before following through with the prophecy. So, this means that the cost of any given faded unique should simply be the combined costs of its prophecy and unfaded version, right? Wrong. This is where this currency strategy comes into play. There are tons of examples of unfaded uniques that cost less than 1 chaos to buy, have prophecies that are only a few chaos more, and ultimately upgrade into uniques that sell for more than twice what you paid to make them. The key is learning to keep track of which combinations have the highest profit margins. Let's look at an example. To start, we'll pull up our trusty tool, PoE Ninja, as well as open up tabs for every type of unique except for flasks. You might also want to open the wiki entry that lists all of the faded uniques. Next, sort the PoE Ninja tabs by growth in the last 7 days. You can also sort purely by value, but I like this strategy because it ensures that you're looking at currently popular items. Next, you can start searching for faded uniques to target. In this case, it looks like the Cauterizer might be a good option. And what do you know? It's perfect. With about 1 to 2 chaos of investment, you can make at least 8 chaos by simply running the prophecy. Obviously, your mileage will vary heavily depending on the exact uniques you pursue, but that's the basic idea. One more tip to maximize profits. When applicable, faded uniques will actually keep the same stat rolls as the unfaded version you used to run the prophecy, and you can almost always use this to your advantage. In the case of our earlier example, a perfect increased physical damage limb split is only 1 chaos, but a cauterizer with the same roll is worth at least 14 chaos, which drastically increases your profit margins. Number 3. ALCH and Go mapping. It may not be glamorous or seemingly all that profitable, but the truth is, simply running maps is one of the absolute best ways to make currency in the game. If you're a new player, you've probably seen streamers like Zizarin running quadruple sextanted, double beyonded Elder Underground Seas with parties of 6. Maybe they were using monstrous treasure prophecies, cartography scarabs, and sacrifice shards. And as a new player, most of this probably sounded like gibberish. Luckily, the whole point of this currency making strategy is you don't need to understand any of that nonsense. Just put your map in, kill monsters until there are less than 50 remaining, then rinse and repeat. To elaborate, it's important to understand exactly why this strategy works. While there are undeniably tons of ways to make money in Path of Exile, one rule will always hold true. This game rewards speed and consistency. While Zizarin was putting together a party, buying scarabs, and rolling his maps, you could have been mapping. While Mathil was pissing away dozens of fossils on a Shaper's staff, you could have been mapping. While Cute Dog was putting together a pure Breachstone rotation, you could have been mapping. At the end of the day, this strategy boils down to 3 things. Using Orbs of Alchemy on your maps, running every single one that your build can, then dumping all of your drops to sort through at a later time. In the footage you're seeing now, I'm sorting through all of the drops I got from a quick 1-hour mapping session. I wasn't doing anything crazy, just alching tier 6 through 10 maps, making sure I didn't hit any bad mods, then running them on my low-level RF jug. I wasn't playing particularly efficiently or quickly, but I did manage to knock out about 15 maps, which is roughly 4 minutes for each one. Currency Cop wasn't working for me, but if I had to estimate, I'd say I ended up with about 35 to 40 chaos worth of reliably sellable drops, gained just over 4 levels on my character, and made some decent progress towards leveling the gems in my second set of weapons. Again, I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but simply playing the game a lot and doing so efficiently will always be one of the best ways to make currency. If you're interested in learning more about how you can better min-max the time you spend mapping, I'll be linking a 40-minute video on the topic below by the hyper-efficient gamer and content creator, Cute Dog.
Hey guys, new video here.
Number 4. Vendor Recipe Uniques. Similarly to Faded Uniques, the Vendor Recipe Unique strategy fully revolves around people being lazy. The way it works is simple. Some uniques in the game can only be created in one way, by vendoring a specific combination of items, just like any other vendor recipe. The methodology for picking out what uniques you want to target is, as usual, best executed with the help of PoE Ninja. Open up tabs for all the item types, sort by growth in the last 7 days, and start searching for vendor recipe uniques based on what's listed on this wiki page, just like you did with Faded Uniques. Since it looks like Dusk Dawn has been gaining popularity lately, let's check out the recipe. It requires one shade of Solaris, one light of Lunaris, and one orb of fusing. Apparently, Shade of Solaris is about 1 Exalt, Light of Lunaris is about 10 Chaos, 1 Fusing is of course 1 Fusing, and Dusk Dawn is about 1.2 Exalts. At current Exalt prices, we're looking at about 23 Chaos of profit. Unfortunately, there is one major catch to this strategy. Because vendor recipes are so easy and well known, the unique you get will generally take a while to sell unless it has some links or good rolls. Additionally, because of how fast Path of Exile's economy fluctuates, it's not uncommon for the price you set to become too high before it actually sells, which can end up ultimately losing you money. I do have one more tip though regarding vendor recipe uniques. There is one item that is almost always profitable to target: Lore Weave. In case you didn't know, Lore Weave is an extremely popular chest because it's always 6-socketed, has a ton of versatile mods, and offers some of the best elemental damage mitigation in the game. And to make a Lore Weave, the recipe you have to follow is simply to vendor 60 unique rings. Lore Weaves have a huge range for possible rolls and can sell from anything from a few dozen chaos to several exalts. The main reason why this recipe tends to be profitable is once again because people are lazy. Going through the trouble of buying 60 rings is time consuming and not fun for most people, and gambling on the rolls makes this option even less attractive for people looking to actually use the item. Number 5. Exalted Shard Recipe. I feel a little bad for including this one, since some Redditor made a post about it recently, making it slightly more well known than I'd have liked. But regardless, I'm still going to include it for all the new players who don't browse the subreddit. Once again, this recipe boils down to taking advantage of lazy players and vendor recipes. However, at the time of this video's recording, this recipe is an especially hot option. The recipe is as follows: 1 full set of gear, including 2 rings, an amulet, belt, weapons, gloves, boots, helmet, and a chest piece, with either completely Shaper or Elder influence, will vendor for 2 Exalted Shards. If the set is also unidentified, you'll get 4 Exalted Shards instead. Sound familiar? That's because this is literally the Chaos recipe pretty much all new players do at some point, but with actually decent profit margins. Of course, the margins will depend on the price of Exalts and how cheap you can buy your items for, but we can take a quick look at the math. Let's say you buy your rings and amulet for 2 chaos apiece, then your belt and gloves for 1 chaos each, and the rest of your set for a few ALCHs. If we estimate on the high side, buying that full set will cost you about 11 chaos. Since it takes 20 exalted shards to make an exalted orb, we can just divide the current value of exalts by 10, which comes out to about 10 chaos. That's at least 6 chaos of profit immediately with no need to go sell to other players. Again, I can't stress how important it is to check your profit margins every time you do this. If you end up paying too much for your items or exalts aren't worth as much as you think, it's really easy to make next to nothing or even lose money while attempting this strategy. And that about sums up this guide. If you have any questions or concerns about the methods shown in this video, don't hesitate to leave me a comment. Or better yet, come join my community Discord where we're constantly discussing Path of Exile and helping new players learn the game. That'll be linked in the description below. Thanks again for watching. This has been Nathan, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you!
What's up, guys? This is now the part of the video where I thank my Patreon supporters. I want to thank Real Human, Pete, Zikarak, Squally, Zoljan, Coda, Julia, and Alan. Thank you guys so much for supporting me both emotionally and mentally, as well as with monies. Those are all really great things. And for anyone else who is new to this section of the video, consider checking me out at patreon.com/NathanBrotherBob. We have a bunch of new rewards. We have we got like in-game guild stuff. We got like physical postcard stuff. We even got voting on the next video topics, which I think is pretty hype for some people. Maybe, I don't know. If you care what I make, I care what I make. You probably don't. But if you did, you could vote, so that would be cool. Additionally, like I said before, check us out on Discord. There's the Discord URL right there. Not going to read that out loud. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.